Good morning. Let me share the slides. Just give me a minute.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so we're recording this session. So I just thought I will inform you well in advance. Okay, so let us start now. So welcome to second episode of IT for non-IT executives. This is episode number 2, where we'll be discussing IT systems. These are the 5 learning objectives that we have. The first one is how do enterprise planning resource planning system, what popularly called as ERP systems, help business achieve operational excellence. Secondly, we look at SCM system, which are also called supply chain management systems, how they help coordinate planning, production, logistics with suppliers. Third type of system that we look at is CRM systems, which are help firms achieve customer intimacy. And the fourth one is what are the challenges posed by IT systems. So basically, we look at ERP, SCM, CRM, and we'll try to understand how they are helping businesses. But when we're looking at what are the benefits or what is the business value of these systems, near the end, we'll also look at what are the challenges posed by IT systems. And finally, we'll conclude with looking at the top 3 vendors for IT systems. So let us begin with ERP systems. So first question is, what is ERP system? So ERP system is nothing but a suite of integrated software modules uh, and a common central database. So basically, uh, there are different functions in the business organizations. We'll have a specific modules for it. So for example, there is a HR module for HR business process. There's a financial module for the financial finance department of the company. Then there's a production model for the production department of the company, right? So each marketing module or sales module for the sales department of the company. So each function will have a respective software model, but all the data will go in one single database, which is what makes ERP software so powerful. That, for example, if a sales order is entered in the system by the sales department, it will be available this information available to all other processes. So somebody from production can see that there is an order which has received. Somebody in accounting can see that order is received. Somebody in shipping logistic department can see there's an order which is received. So once the data is entered from anywhere in the company, it is available for other business processes, for other business functions. So that is the power of ERP systems. This is as against having very many monolithic systems, which are small systems like one for accounting, one for HR, one for payroll, and so on. Instead of having these different systems for each department, and then there's the issue of exchanging data across all these departments, you could have one system, one single large system, a center with a central database. That is the whole idea behind an ERP system. So you could have different models like HR models, which will manage data about hours work, basically attendance, leaves and attendance, labor cost, job skills, all that. Sales and marketing will have data about orders, sales forecast, price changes, return request, all that data will go in one centralized database. Similarly, we'll have finance and accounting model, we have manufacturing production model. All this data which is captured is put in the centralized database and obviously made available to other processes as per the requirement, right? So it's not that since the data is available to everybody, but depending on the authorization, depending on the access control, the data could be made available to other people also. So that is a basic idea behind an ERP system. The ERP systems are built around thousands of predefined business processes that reflect best practices. Now, this is a term which is used in ERP jargon a lot. What has happened is that over a period of time, the ERP products have gathered what are the best practices in which a particular business process could be implemented. So let us take example hiring of candidates. So it's a very standard process, and there are some best practices that could be associated with it. The software will embed all those best practices and will implement, will digitize that particular business process accordingly. So what you see on the screen is a list of some of the processes. It's not all the processes. Some of the processes in the organizations which are digitized by ERP system. This is obviously not an exhaustive list, no way. It's just to give an indication of what kind of a business processes we are looked at. I'm not going through all of these details. I'm sure they're available for you to see. But you could see that there have all kinds of business processes that are used by any organization across the globe, right? And then there will be uh, could be digitized using ERP system. Now, how one can go about select using ERP system or implementing ERP system? The first step is obviously select the modules of ERP system. Ideally, we would expect that the organization will select all the modules, but that may not be the case. Some organization may select some of the models, not all the models. But some models that should be selected are definitely accounting, HR, sales and marketing, production, or those kind of models which are more relevant for their organization. And then the business processes are mapped to the predefined business process in the software. So we'll look at what is currently being practiced in a company and what is implemented in the software. Okay, there will be certain gaps, obviously. So you need to use some software configuration tables to tailor a particular system aspect of system. So, for example, some organizations may not be issuing quotation; they may be just using issuing the invoices. So that is one thing that could be tailored. So the software may have a process which says starts with quotation, but a particular organization may not be using quotation; they directly give invoices. So that could be tailored, or the quotation is called pro forma invoice in a particular organization. So you could tailor it accordingly. So there could be some tailoring that could happen for the software. Software could be tailored for a particular organization, the way it does business. Now there is a possibility that there is certain things which are done very differently in the organization, okay, which is not there in the software, or it is done in a typical way, which is what others are doing, and the company may be doing it very differently. Now, in that case, you need to rewrite some of the software. You can override what is given in the software or develop altogether a new functionality. This is what we call the customization or div customization, right? So the third step in this, what we're saying, is a configuration. You configure a software for a particular organization, which does not involve so much of coding, right? But when you come to customization, where you are rewriting some code, or you're developing some new functionality, some coding, some programming is required in the specific programming languages, and that is somewhere you're changing the software package that is made available to you by the vendor. Many times it is said is not recommended because making a change to a large software like ERP package could be very challenging. You can't make a very casually this kind of a changes. It will have a very significant impact. So one has to be really careful to see whether it is really required. And many times you will see ERP package vendors telling that their software has all best practices. There is no need to deviate from them. And it may look like a lot of arrogance on the part of ERP vendors that they say so, but there is a reason for it. Yes, indeed, they have really captured the best practices across the globe. So it's actually a good idea to look at what these practices are. That's number one. And number two, if you want to make changes, it's going to be a little expensive because it involves, it's not a very small change in a sense. We need to test out the entire system, ensure that there is nothing breaking out there. And whenever you're upgrading the system, you need to ensure that whatever you are developed on top of it should get also upgraded accordingly. So it's a very expensive affair. It may look like a very small change from a user perspective, but from a software perspective, it's very, very significant change, and it requires good amount of cost investment in making those changes. So that is something which is generally recommended to be avoided. But obviously, if it is required to be done, it could be done. So this is how the ERP systems are typically implemented. Now, what is the benefit that one can get with ERP system? First and foremost, it increases operational efficiency because all the data is made available. Things will be done much more faster with this. So that is the biggest benefit. We say operational efficiency. Second, it provides firmware information to support decision making. Now we know what are the orders are being placed, so somebody in the production department can make better decisions with that kind of information. Earlier, that person only had information what was given to him or her, but today, it's real-time information that is flowing within a firm, which will help decision making significantly. You could also enable rapid responses to customer request, and I think very important again, you have all the data. You have all the data about the customer. You have all the data about the uh, customer orders, so you could respond much faster with this. And most importantly, which is becoming very important now, is that you could use analytical tools. So since all the data is there, you could use analytical tools on top of it and can evaluate overall organizational performance because you have all the data that is made available, right? In the ERP system makes all the data available to you. So that helps in a big way. So that's about ERP system. Now let us move on and talk about SCM system. But before we get into SCM, we need to understand what is really meant by supply chain management. So that is something that we'll try to see first. Or what do you mean by supply chain per se? So it's basically network organization. So whenever, let us say there's a company which is selling shoes, let us assume, and they are providing, but that's not the only company which is dealing with customers and which is making the entire product. Actually, it has upstream supply chain, which are basically suppliers. So they're getting something from their suppliers, and the suppliers also getting something from their suppliers. So there are suppliers, and so on. Similar downstream also, they don't directly go to the customer. They don't typically sell directly to customer. They may be selling it to distributors selling to retailers, and retailers are selling to actual end users. So there will be downstream supply chain. Okay, and within the organization also there is a supply chain because there is a somebody is making the forecast, somebody is actually making it, then somebody is shipping it. So there is a whole supply chain. So a product which reaches end user, actually cross, kind of the entire thing is manufactured and distributed to that customer through various organization, and within organization also there is could be a big supply chain in itself. Supply chain management try to digitize the entire supply chain from end to end supply chain, which will cross operational boundaries. Now, when we use this term supply chain, this is a visual kind of a thing, which is we're looking at Nike's supply chain as an example. I mean, that's not necessarily what you would see, but let us say Nike is here. You could see it here, right? Nike is here, and then you have a contract supplier one, contract supplier two, and then they will have their own suppliers, and that will have its own suppliers, and so on. So we'll call the tier one suppliers, tier two suppliers, and tier three suppliers. Now you may wonder why Nike need to know about what is tier two, tier three. Yes, they need to know because without that, they will not have a good understanding of supply. They will not be able to control quality well if they don't know about tier two, tier three suppliers. So they need to know. Similarly, downstream, they will have distributor, retailers, and customers, right? So there's a downstream supply chain. So you'll have upstream, downstream, and then the internal supply chain within the IK. So that is just an example of how it could be. But interestingly, today it's not that chain in a sense. I mean, that is a traditionally term which is used supply chain, but today it's a supply network, we should call it, though we still use the term supply chain because there are so many of them. So there are virtual manufacturers who are brands which don't manufacture themselves. And most of the companies today, so called brands, don't really manufacture anything. They give it to contract manufacturers. And then they will work with logistic exchanges, and there will be to find the logistic providers, and the logistic providers are actually shipping it to the customers. And obviously there are roles for retailers and distributors and real manufacturers and so on. And there are many marketplaces which would be available through which you'll be connecting. So what we saw here is more of a static, a linear, so to say, a supply chain, which was there earlier, which used to be there earlier. But today you see more of this complex supply network. So we may still use the term supply chain, but it has actually become very complex, and there are multi-party participation which is happening in this. Nevertheless, you need a software to manage it is still called supply chain management software, SCM software, which has two parts. One is the supply chain planning system, the other one is supply chain execution system. Supply chain planning system will model existing supply chain, enable demand planning, which is a very important aspect when we are looking at making to stock. So all the fast moving consumer good, FMCG good like say toothpaste or biscuits and so on, they require demand planning. They need to plan how much would be the demand and accordingly do the manufacturing. So a supply chain planning system will help in optimized sourcing, manufacturing plans, establish inventory levels, how much should be inventory, identify efficient transportation modes, and so on. So this is more of a planning system. And there is an execution system where you manage the flow of products through distribution centers and warehouses. So you will have execution systems also. So typically you will say SCM is in two parts: supply chain planning system and supply chain execution systems. The demand planning is a very important function of supply chain management software. So that is where you see more of AI also being used, or machine learning is used largely in enabling demand planning. So what is the business value of SCM system? One, it will match supply to demand and thereby reduce inventory level, right? So when you reduce inventory level, it reduces the cost significantly. It improves delivery services, right? Speed truck time to market, use assets more effectively, and reduce supply chain cost lead to increased profitability. Why? Because there's generally said that 75% operating budget is supply chain cost. All right. So if you can reduce supply chain cost, definitely increase profitability. And finally, it'll increase sales. Why? Because when you're trying to reduce inventory, you also want to ensure there is no stock out. Right? It's also bad, right, for a company. The company doesn't want to have too much of inventory because it is too much of a cost. But if it doesn't have enough inventory, then there will be stock out. Orders are there, but you don't have stock to supply. So that you also want to avoid, right? So software will help you to both. It will reduce inventory level as well as try to avoid stock outs, which will actually increase sales because stock out will reduce sales. So with SCM system, we will be able to reduce cost with reducing inventory as well as avoid stockouts so as to enable increase in the sales. So that is what we call as a business value of SCM system. Now comes CRM system, which are smaller in size when it comes to ERP and SCM, but very much used. And some small companies may actually use CRM system, start using CRM system first, even before they start using uh, this ERP or SCM system. Now, when we use the word CRM, we typically refer to a software, but there is also a thought that CRM is not only about software, it's actually a business strategy which optimizes revenue and profitability while promoting customer satisfaction and loyalty. So we'll talk about how to increase customer intimacy, how do we understand customer better, right? So the focus of CRM as a business strategy is to understanding the existing and potential customers so well, you know, while interacting with them across a variety of touch points. So if you compare with a small kirana store around the corner, the person who's running the shop knows all his customers, right? I mean, you can go and watch how this person deals with different customers. He knows the customers. He knows who are the price sensitive customers, who are looking or seeking discounts, who are the people who look for premium products, right? Who are the people who are want to be get noticed, and so they will call them with very respectful names. So they know the customer because they are dealing with them day in day out. When it comes to large banks, insurance companies, telecom companies, right? It's very challenging because they are dealing with customers through various touch points such as phone, email, there's a physical point of presence that will be there, social media, right? So you would have these many touch points, and you need to really ensure that when you're interacting with the customer, you understand the customer's problem, you understand customers' issues so well. And that is where the CRM has gained so much of importance. That ultimately you want to make customer happy, you want to delight customer, you want to ensure that the customers actually remain loyal with you. And that is what CRM is all about as a business strategy, right? But yes, you need a software because you need to capture and integrate customer data from all over organization. You need to consolidate and analyze customer data. You need to distribute this customer information to various systems and touch points across enterprise, so as to provide a single enterprise view of customer, which is very, very important. And this is obviously largely applicable for large organizations because you need dealing with customers across different touch points. Let me give an example. When you work with a talk to a bank, you can talk to a bank on phone, you talk to send an email to a bank, you could call the bank number, which is a common number, or you can go to the bank branch. Now, what if you get an issue? You first try sending an email, you don't get a satisfactory response, then you try to call, you really don't reach the right person to talk to. Then maybe you put some social media messages, and then you go to the branch, right? Now, somebody who's attending you at the branch, if he or she starts from scratch, as if you are the first time coming to the bank, then it will further add to the agitation because you have been dealing with bank through various touch points. So the person who's dealing with you, is interacting with you, should have access to all this data that this customer has already sent an email and some response has gone to him. He already, raised something on social media, already called us and so on, and should take the conversation from that point onwards. That is what a CRM system enable the frontline staff to do. So CRM systems are very, very important to build customer relationships. Okay, that's called customer relationship management. There are three key models of the CRM software model. One is called Salesforce automation, which involve, so this starts by identification of sales prospective customers, basically, and capturing their contact information, doing the quotation, sales forecasting, territory management, and all that. The order entry is part of ERP. Okay, so in ERP also you would see sales and marketing model because when it comes to order, the person is already customer, that it belongs to ERP. But even before all that interaction, that is something which is captured in sales for automation. So it's basically salespeople are the users of this model. Then you have customer service model, which will basically look at customer service request. It also includes web-based self-service. Today, obviously, we have WhatsApp-based self-service also. All that is part of this model. And then the marketing, if you're doing marketing campaign, direct marketing campaign, or those kind of things, this will be covered in this marketing model. There could be additional models. One is the partner relationship management. So if company sells through partners, then they need to have work with collaborative partners. So this PRM, partner relationship model, will be helpful for that. You could also employee relationship management, particularly for services company, where the employees are also participate actively in sales. Then you would have a ERI model which to take care of employee training, compensations, incentives, and so on. Finally, there's a very interesting one called social CRM, which is what increasingly important model of CRM, which will help to create presence on social media, to monitor social media activities, very, very important, and manage social media campaigns. So all that would be part of social CRM. So this is something which has become very important module of any CRM software. There are many CRM software which are actually bought largely because of this social CRM module, because this is so important for your digital marketing activities. One could also look at CRM as a two types of it. One is called operational CRM, where we'll capture and data and we'll do the transaction processing. In all the models that we see, there is a lot of data capture and transaction processing that happens. So that we call the operational CRM. And analytical CRM, which will basically look at the data and then do analytics on top of it. And this aspect of this type of CRM is becoming more important. Obviously, you can't have analytical CRM without operational CRM. So you need to have operational CRM first, and then you build analytical CRM on top of that. So that is how you would go about using CRM. Again, look at business value of CRM systems. One, increase customer satisfaction, because now you're focusing on customer, right? So increase customer satisfaction, reduce direct marketing cost, more effective marketing, lower cost of customer acquisition. So your customer acquisition cost, CAC, that we'll talk about, right? That will reduce as a retention of customers would be easier, and you'll have lower cost for that. And finally, increase sales revenue, because we assume, or rather we expect, rather we kind of think that this is what makes logical sense, that if you make your customers happy, they're satisfied, they will come back to you for repeated purchase, and that will help you increase sales revenue. So that is what we call the business value of CRM system. Now we talked about business value of all ERP, SCM, and CRM. We saw, there is increased sales, there is a reduced cost, a better customer relationships, and so on. And say, oh, great, this is the thing, which would help. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And as a matter of fact, if you look at any organization in today's world, they use ERP, SCM, and CRM to a certain extent, if not 100%, but yes, to a larger extent, most of the companies use. If you look at top companies, they use all of it, right? So it has become inevitable to have it, but that doesn't mean there are no challenges with it, right? So there are few challenges. We should be aware that there are certain challenges with IT systems. The first one is that it is highly expensive to purchase and implement IT system. They are not cheap. Okay, the software products are pretty complex, particularly ERP and SCM, and they are expensive to buy. Many times there are deep discounts are offered to purchase, but the cost of implementing it is also high. Uh, to overcome that challenge of high upfront cost, many ERP systems now are offered on cloud, and they do a subscription basis pricing where you pay per user per month kind of a pricing, which is also not that cheap. It is still expensive, but you are not paying upfront. So that is an advantage of this kind of purchasing plan. The second is technology keeps on changing, so you need to upgrade the system. So you can't just say that, okay, I have got a system and I'll use it for next 50 years. Not even 5 years. You need to keep on changing to do that. The technology keep on changing. Business processes do change. So the business is not static. The regulatory changes are coming in, right? You need to adapt to that. So there are some changes that will happen. So it's not something you implement once and you forget. You keep on need to update on it. The organization need to learn how to use it well. So you could, so one learning curve is, you should train your people how to use system to enter data and how to use system to get reports. But then how to use those reports to make decision making, right? That is some still the companies kind of learn over a period of time. So that is what we call organization learning curve. Then comes very interesting is called switching cost due to dependence on software vendors. So once you buy a system from a particular software vendor, you kind of get locked in with that vendor, whether you like it or not, right? Because switching from that vendor to other vendor is not easy, right? So even if the vendor increases prices later, you may not be, it may not be easy for you to kind of switch. You can't do comparison shopping that well once you have some system already in place. So there is some dependence that you have on the software vendors. And finally, there is a, challenge of data standardization, management, and cleansing. You get data, but you need to ensure that that is still standardized. So that challenge doesn't go away. You need to still work with ensuring the data is standardized, it's well managed, and it's cleansed, and so on. So that needs to be done as part of ERP system implementation or IT system implementation, as well as management or maintenance of the system. Finally, let us look at the IT system vendors. There are many of them, and it will be very challenging to see a big list of all these vendors. But let me just quickly look at three vendors, and these are well-known names. I'm sure everybody kind of knows them. So SAP is a German multinational company, very big company, focused on IT systems, on ERP, SCM, CRM. Majority of Fortune 500 companies use SAP software. It's like a number one company globally, if you talk about it. They had different versions of ERP systems over the years. But today they focus on S4 HANA Cloud, and they're actually migrating their old systems, on-premise systems, to this SAP S4 HANA Cloud, which is a fully managed SaaS solution, and they include everything that an organization needs. So it's kind of one vendor who provides all the business solution, all the IT systems under one roof. For small and mid-sized companies, they offer different software. So business by design and second for business one. So business by design is more for mid-sized companies and business one for the small companies. That is how they have positioned those products. Oracle is like a number one, two company, which is an American multinational company, and it offers two. So it also has many products actually, because they acquired quite a few CRM, ERP products like PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, Siebel, and so on. But over a bit of time, they kind of consolidated all their offerings, and now they offer Oracle Fusion Cloud ERP, for the largest of their enterprises, and Oracle NetSuite, which is actually a company called NetSuite, which are acquired by Oracle, which is cloud software, which is offered for the smaller companies. So that is like two offerings, one for large companies, one for smaller companies. And finally, we have Microsoft, which has Microsoft Dynamics 365 as a flagship product. They also acquired many companies like Navision, Expara, Great Plains, and so on. And over a period of time, they have kind of consolidated offering, and now it is Microsoft Dynamics 365, which is again a cloud software sold on a subscription basis. So that's all from me for this short and sweet session on IT systems. Let me open to questions. If there are any questions, we have 5 more minutes to go. So please free to ask questions if you have any. So if there are no questions, should I close the call?
Yes, sir. I'll first go through the recording. In case I have queries, I'll contact you back.
Perfect. Perfect. So I have
Okay,
given
sir.
my WhatsApp number here. So please feel free to send your queries on WhatsApp. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir.